They called it stupid. They walked past it, pointed at it, laughed at it. A beat-up shed sitting in a vacant lot on the edge of a city that had already decided this man didn't matter. No furnace, no power line running to it. No insulation you could name on a label. Just scavenged plywood, salvaged pallets, shredded newspaper, dollar store trash bags, and a mind that understood something your heating bill proves you don't. That winter, temperatures dropped to single digits for 11 consecutive nights, and inside that shed, that stupid, ugly, dismissed little shed, a man named Marcus stayed warm. Not survived, not barely made it. Warm. Picture a vacant lot on the south side of a mid-sized American city. November, the kind of November where the wind doesn't just cut. Marcus had been sleeping outside for 8 months. 51 years old, former construction laborer. Lost his apartment when the company he worked for folded. Lost his storage unit 2 months after that. He had applied to 3 shelters and been turned away from 2 of them. Not enough beds, not the right zip code, not the right paperwork. The third had a 6-week waiting list. By the time a spot opened, it was the first week of December and he had already stopped waiting. What Marcus had was this: a vacant lot behind a shuttered auto parts store, a mountain of scavenged lumber and pallets stacked along the fence, and 40 years of construction muscle memory in his hands and his head. He knew how buildings worked. He had framed walls for other people's houses his entire adult life. He had insulated attics, sealed crawl spaces, laid subfloors. He just had never had to do it for himself. Not like this. Not with nothing. So he started building, and what he built looked like nothing. It looked like a joke. Neighbors walked past and shook their heads. Someone posted a photo of it online, and people laughed. Somebody wrote in the comments, "That thing won't last a week." It lasted the whole winter, and when it was over, the inside temperature never dropped below 54 degrees. On the night it hit 7 degrees outside, it was 61 inside. No heater, no generator, no electricity at all. So, how does a man with no money and no supplies build something that your home's HVAC system would struggle to match? The answer will change how you think about warmth. Drop a comment right now. Have you ever tried to winterize a space, a garage, a shed, a basement, and spent money on products that just didn't work the way they promised? Tell me what you tried, because what you're about to discover will change how you see every bag of insulation you've ever bought. Here's the thing about modern insulation that nobody in the hardware store will tell you. It doesn't actually do anything special. It does not generate heat. It does not block cold through some chemical miracle. Every single insulation product on the market, the pink fiberglass rolls, the spray foam cans, the rigid foam boards, it traps air. That's it. Still, motionless air is one of the best natural insulators on Earth, with a thermal resistance value of roughly ER 3.6 per inch when it can't move. The entire insulation industry is built on the science of immobilizing air, and then charging you $200 a roll to do it. A single inch of fiberglass bat achieves about R 3.1 to R 4.3 per inch. Want to know what achieves ER 3 to R 4 per inch? Corrugated cardboard. The corrugated channels trap air in small, sealed cells. The wave pattern inside a single sheet of cardboard is an accidental masterpiece of thermal engineering. Multiple layers stacked together compound the effect. And corrugated cardboard is one of the most discarded materials in the world. Every grocery store, every restaurant, every Amazon delivery generates it by the ton. And we throw it away. Marcus knew none of this by name. He knew it by feel. In 40 years of construction, he had learned one thing that the building science textbooks would confirm. Cold doesn't come in. Heat goes out. Your job is to slow that exit down. Here's where it gets worse. Every year, Americans spend an estimated tens of billions of dollars on home heating costs, and a significant portion of the money exits through walls, floors, and ceilings that are insulated wrong, insulated inadequately, or insulated with products that degrade in the exact conditions they're meant to withstand. Fiberglass bats absorb moisture. When fiberglass gets wet, it can lose half or more of its insulating ability. Spray foam off-gases chemicals for months. Rigid foam boards are petroleum products. None of them are free. None of them were available to Marcus. And none of them understood the fundamental principle he was building around. Here's the part that should make you a little angry. A 19th century Nebraska farmhouse was better insulated than most homes built this decade, and the industry never told you that. The villain here isn't a person, it's a system that decided cheap, fast, and proprietary was better than effective, durable, and free, and then handed you the bill. You are not bad at staying warm. You were given broken instructions. You were sold products designed for repeat purchase. The system wasn't built around your warmth. It was built around your dependence. Let's walk through exactly what Marcus built, because every layer of that shed is a lesson in a physics principle that costs nothing to understand and nothing to use. Marcus started with pallets. He stacked 2 layers flat on the ground and secured them, creating a raised platform roughly 18 inches off the earth. This was not aesthetic. This was survival engineering. In cold weather, up to 80% of a body's heat can transfer directly into the ground through conduction. The earth acts like a massive heat sink, pulling thermal energy away from you continuously and silently. A resting human body produces roughly 60 to 100 watts of heat at all times. Think of yourself as a living, breathing 60-watt light bulb without a thermal break between you and the ground. That heat disappears into the earth faster than your body can replace it. The pallet platform created an air gap. Air gaps stop conduction, simple, free, and ignored by every sleeping bag commercial you've ever seen. Marcus framed double walls. Not one wall with a cavity, 2 separate walls, each about 3.5 inches thick, with a 4-inch gap between them. Inside that gap, and packed tightly against every stud bay, he stuffed shredded newspaper. Not loose, dense, tightly packed. The same physics applies here. The shredded cellulose fiber traps air in pockets, too small for convective movement to occur. The air can't circulate, it can't carry heat away. It just sits there, blocking. Packed newspaper insulation achieves roughly R 3.2 to R 3.8 per inch of thickness. His double wall with the inner cavity packed at 12 total inches approached R 45 to R 50. The average American home is built to R 13 to R 21 in the walls. Marcus, building with garbage, built walls nearly 3 times more insulating than a code-compliant new construction home. Without a permit, without a contractor, without a Home Depot. He treated the newspaper with a dusting of borax, 60 cents from the dollar store. Borax is a natural fire retardant and mold inhibitor. This single step transformed loose paper from a fire hazard into a legitimate building material, the same principle used in commercial cellulose insulation, which is itself just paper products shredded, treated with borax, and sold in bags for $4 a square foot. This is the step most DIY builders skip, and it's the step that kills insulation performance. When warm air contacts a cold surface inside a wall cavity, it releases moisture. That moisture saturates whatever insulation is present. Wet insulation loses 50 to 90% of its thermal resistance. All that work, all that carefully packed newspaper, undone by condensation. Marcus lined every interior wall surface with heavy-duty black trash bags, overlapped at the seams and sealed with duct tape salvaged from a job site dumpster. This vapor barrier prevented warm, humid interior air from reaching the cold outer wall where it would condense. It is the same principle as the plastic sheeting used in commercial vapor retarder installations, just implemented with materials that cost nothing and are thrown away by the millions every week. Here's where it gets remarkable. Marcus didn't just stop the heat from leaving, he started bouncing it back. He lined the interior walls and ceiling with emergency mylar. Blankets, the kind that come in a pack, for $3 at any dollar store or camping supply. These thin metallic sheets reflect up to 90% of radiant heat back toward the source. Every time Marcus's body emitted infrared radiation, which is constant, unavoidable, and has nothing to do with how hard you're shivering, the walls threw it back at him. Think of it like standing inside a thermos. The inner mirror surface reflects your own thermal energy. Inuit peoples achieved the same effect centuries before Mylar existed by lining their igloos with animal skins, which have a similar radiant reflective quality. The temperature inside a well-constructed igloo can be 60 degrees warmer than outside, using nothing but body heat, a small lamp, and surface reflection. Marcus's shed was small. The interior measured roughly 8 feet by 5 feet, just enough for a sleeping platform, a small shelf, and room to sit upright. People laughed at this too. But the size was the point. Your body produces a fixed amount of heat. If the space you occupy is large, that heat disperses uselessly into the volume of air around you. If the space is small, calibrated to the amount of heat one human body produces, the temperature rises rapidly and stays there. Survival instructors have taught this principle for decades. The number one mistake people make building emergency shelters is making them too large. A debris hut built tight enough can maintain survivable temperatures at negative 19 degrees Fahrenheit using body heat alone. Marcus had not read a survival manual, but 40 years of building had taught him that every material has a purpose, and every cubic foot of unused space is a cubic foot of heat loss. Before Marcus considered the shed finished, he went around every seam. Why did we abandon this knowledge? Why is it not taught in every building class, written in every homeowner's guide, explained to every family trying to lower a heating bill that's eating them alive? 3 reasons, and they have nothing to do with the science: speed, straw bale construction, newspaper insulation, double wall building. These take time to source materials, time to pack cavities, time to build right. Industrial construction operates on tight schedules and profit margins per unit. Anything that slows the line gets eliminated, regardless of whether it produces a better building. Cost: free insulation materials produce no revenue. You cannot patent the principle of trapped air. You cannot add a barcode to a bale of straw or a bag of shredded newspaper. The only financially viable path for an insulation company is to manufacture something proprietary, brand it, price it, and repeat. The moment a homeowner can walk out the back door, gather material, and achieve comparable results, the business model collapses, so that knowledge stays quiet. Not suppressed by conspiracy, just ignored by incentive. New technology created a false sense that the old knowledge was superseded. The rise of cheap petroleum products in the mid-20th century made synthetic foam insulation economically viable. Polyurethane spray foam and extruded polystyrene boards were new, chemical, industrial, scientific sounding. They carried authority. Foam insulation degrades over time. It off-gases. It can't be composted. It requires petroleum to manufacture and to transport. If you're finding this valuable, if you're feeling that lift of recognition right now, that sense that something deliberately kept complicated is finally being made simple, hit like. It helps other people find this information, and they need it too. So what do you do with this? If you have a shed, a garage, a basement room, or any uninsulated space you want to winterize on a real budget, start with the ground. Before you touch a wall, raise the floor. 2x4s and salvaged plywood create a platform with an air gap. A layer of rigid foam board underneath the plywood doubles the effect. This single step, done before anything else, will produce a more noticeable temperature difference than any wall insulation you add later. If you want to go further, build a double wall inside your existing wall. Frame a second stud wall 2 to 4 inches in front of the first, filling the cavity between them with packed newspaper or recycled denim insulation, which you can buy in bags, is made from recycled jeans, contains no fiberglass, and achieves ER 3.5 per inch. Treat loose newspaper with a borate solution before packing. Line the warm, interior side the continuous plastic vapor barrier before you close the wall with drywall or paneling. This is not experimental. This is documented, tested at minimum, even if you do nothing else. Line the interior surface of any cold wall or ceiling with emergency mylar blankets before winter. $3 a pack, 90% radiant heat reflection. You will feel the difference the same night, not metaphorically, physically. The wall will stop feeling like a cold radiator and start feeling neutral. That is the physics working in real time. Marcus was not a primitive man working with primitive materials. He was a master builder working with an understanding of physics that most credentialed architects never apply because nobody pays them to. He knew that warmth is not created by expensive products. It is preserved by patient, intelligent design. He knew that the most powerful insulator in the world is air that has been taught to stay still. And he knew that a man who has nothing still has physics on his side. The knowledge was never lost. It was abandoned, traded away for convenience, marked up, resold, and handed back to you at a price designed to keep you dependent. You were never bad at staying warm. You were just never given the right instructions. Now you have them. We are digging up the building knowledge, the survival science, and the practical engineering that the modern industry left behind, and we're bringing it back, one video at a time. Subscribe if you want to be part of that, and leave a comment below. What space in your life needs winterizing? What's the coldest place you're trying to make livable? Tell us, because that might be exactly what we investigate next. Here's the hardcore truth that outdoor gear companies desperately don't want you to discover because it completely destroys their entire business model built on selling you expensive equipment you don't actually need. A person experiencing homelessness with $30 and access to basic materials can construct a shelter system that outperforms your